I've never done anything like this before. It was pretty incredible. It was overwhelming in its scope and how much information there is and how much work we put into it. It's pretty incredible. But it really pays off.
You know, we'd get there on, let's say, a Monday, and we'd all go down to the studio to see, because it would be a room that, you know, most or all of us had never set foot in our life, and you were kind of excited to see what the layout was going to be. Especially the ones where, like, you know, you could really see that, you know, our producer and our engineer were stressed. You know, like the places that were not studios, where they had to sort of construct a studio in a room.
We weren't really scheduled to be recording until Tuesday, but I'm kind of excited to get working on stuff. So Taylor would work on drum sounds. That's kind of the foundation of it. Get that together. Sometimes we'd run through the song. Maybe we even recorded. And
the next day, to start recording for real. We get a drum track, and, you know, it was kind of like the way we did the last album, like just doing it in a bunch of other cities. You know, we'd get the drum track, Dave would do his guitar track, me and Pat would do our guitar tracks, we'd put a bass track on there, put some keyboards on there, and then Dave would do the vocal at the end of the week.
You can reconstruct the bass line pretty quickly. You can reconstruct the guitar part pretty quickly on the spot. If he comes in and starts singing and it's not working, you're fucked. And if I don't get a permittable, good enough, strong enough drum track for the song to sit on, then we got nothing.
The vocal was always the last thing. Or then we'd film a video at the end of it. Yeah. The standout place, you know, as far as that was concerned, was when we recorded in New Orleans. Because we recorded at Preservation Hall, which is the home of the Preservation Hall Jazz Band.
Yeah, we have a horn section on, you know, the song from New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's Preservation Hall Jazz Band playing on the song. So it's like, in one way, it's like you couldn't sound any more like New Orleans, but it's, the bulk of it's a Foo Fighters song. So it's a little like, it's a little seasoning.
Yeah, the flavorings came from the guests. Yeah, we would be ridiculous trying to play Dixieland jazz. I mean, it would just be fucking horrible.
New Orleans was an incredible experience, but for me personally, I liked DC a lot because there's a lot of personal, like, musical history for me, like visiting this famous old punk rock recording studio and going to the Discord house, you know, where Discord Records is run out of, and even having Scream come in, and a couple of the guys from Scream come in and guest on the song. Like, I grew up as a teenager, like, loving Scream, so that was pretty great one for me.
It was the Feast and the Famine, the Washington D.C. song, which most of the songs I felt like, that's what I would have expected him to do, or, you know, not necessarily that I knew, but you know what I mean? It's like, okay. But that song just was like, whoa, yeah. I did not see
that's
this
what
coming.
we're doing?
Yeah. I really didn't see that one coming at all.
Because the songs were mostly constructed before going there. We're pretty conscious to not make it campy and be like, how does Chicago sound? You know, like, let's dial in a guitar tone that's going to represent Chicago. Things started to get a little country fried when we were in Nashville. I remember Dave going like, this does not make it be a country song.
One of the things that we left sort of to chance was the middle sections of a lot of the bridges, or whatever you want to call them, in a lot of these songs. A lot of times that's where the guest would come in. So take, for instance, the Nashville song, Congregation. That's the guitar solo is
Zach
Brown. And that whole section, that middle section, was written the day we recorded it, or the day before, the night before we recorded it. We got to the studio at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. I went to the studio and worked on that. And it took a while. Got a little heated and dangerous. Like, well, we don't have this middle section. We've had 10 different middle sections for that song. And the one that you hear is the one that we ended up on. But there was 10 different versions of that. And then when Zach came in to put his thing on it, he'd never heard the song. He turned the whole thing upside down.
Watching Garrett Clark Jr. play the guitar was one of the most inspiring parts for me.
What about?
Just sitting there on the couch, playing my guitar, making it do things that I didn't know it could do.
I took advantage of the moment to have him give me a quick little guitar lesson. It's like, teach me what you did there and there. What are your go-to licks? hit me with a couple of those.
Well, the LA song that we actually did out in the desert had Joe Walsh do this great guitar solo. You know, it's the middle of this song, and it really sounds like the desert. It just does. Like you feel like it, like you feel like you're in this California desert when you hear that song. I mean, and the section when the band breaks down and Joe goes into this slow, you know, deliberately held back guitar solo. I mean, for the first 4 bars, he hits like one note. It's that beautiful thing that only someone who has that kind of restraint. Any other guitar player would have come in and, played a million notes in the first. He didn't fucking play anything. We just sat there waiting. Songs going by and we're like, oh, that one little note that he played is better than every other note in the whole song, you know.
With the way that we've done the last couple, like just going back to making a regular album the old-fashioned way, it's going to be like crazy next time. Like, we just did it in our own studio.
I got a crazy idea for the next record. Actually, we do have a crazy idea for the next record.
Dave's got one that's it's something that is, I don't know if we could pull off, but we're going to have to figure out a way.
We will pull off because we have to.
It's an awesome idea.
It's a good idea, and yeah, I mean, people have done it, but not this way.
I never imagined doing something this size, and it's enormous.